recording. We don't need to clap, do we? I'm going to do it anyway. 1, 2, 9. Ow! Oh, my face!
Give me more editing to do.
Welcome to another episode of Max Mike Movies in the series Give Me One More Chance, baby. This week we're taking on 2008's Cloverfield, a monster movie that had a profound effect on me the first time I saw it. The kind of effect usually reserved for a Tommy Wiseau shirtless scene.
Ugh.
Yeah, I did not do well with the handheld shaky-cam cinematography of this found footage opus, and actually had to spend time sitting in the lobby with my head down, groaning quietly, much like I had to during our Roger Corman series. But because I love you people so much, way more than Mike does.
Liar.
I was willing to risk profound nausea and motion sickness and advanced mange. I'm told I was one of the only people that affected that way.
Lying.
For our show, so we watched it again. Let's find out if I made it through this time barf-free or if the chundering was never-ending. I am your host, Max, the Thing from Outer Space, Levine. And over there is Mike Luce, the friend to all children who only steps on people because he is lonely. Enjoying your fish flakes, Mike?
I think of you as the chunder down under.
Cowabunga. But before we get to that, we have our poll question. Last week we asked you, what cinematic detective feels most like a real person? When you sit on them, I guess. Matt Reisman said Eddie Valiant, which is why he works in that movie. Ooh, good choice.
Ooh.
Love us some Bob Hoskins.
Please.
Tyler Stewart says, I didn't see many episodes, but I liked Jim Rockford of the Rockford Files for his exasperation. He'd find himself in a TV land PI adventure, and his reaction would be, oh, WTF. Not that he could use such language. No, he did more of the Grunkle Stan. Oh, come on!
I don't remember that at all.
All the time. Nice one there, Tyler. And also one of the catchiest TV theme songs ever.
It's true.
Joe Mundo says, I'd say Clarice from Silence of the Lambs. Oh, excuse me. Clarice from Silence of the Lambs.
Sit further down the couch.
Yeah, she feels like a legit normal human being in stark contrast to the warped psycho minds she meets. Roland, the Headless Thompson Gunner Hardy, says, the Amazon series Bosch, as in Hieronymus Bosch. I don't know that one.
I don't either.
Cool. Something to check out. Benjamin Schleiss says, Columbo, or just one more thing. Granted, not sure how good of a detective he would be in real life. Yeah, probably, considering he always deals with, like, rich, famous people, they would have had him off the force in 5 minutes.
Well, and it takes him weeks to solve one murder.
And we have another voice for that, Chris Francione, the finder of Lost Loves.
No, that's Tony Franciosa.
Oh, right. Definitely Lieutenant Frank Columbo.
That is unofficial.
But that was supposed to be his name?
Well, so they never... Okay, in the show, they never canonically gave him a first name.
Yeah.
However, there is one point where he is showing an ID, and if you zoom in real close, it sure looks like it says Frank. Not
right.
Francis.
Not
Frank.
Francis. Okay.
But
I remember in one of the later ones, I think Faye Dunaway or someone asks him what his first name is, and he says...
You couldn't
Lieutenant.
pronounce it.
No, he says Lieutenant.
Oh. It's like Spock.
Julie T. O'Malley says Andy Sipowicz in NYPD Blue. Oh, man, that takes me back. He was a deeply flawed human being, and the way he was portrayed by Dennis Franz made him raw and real to audiences. Nice one.
Yeah, but what about Dennis Franz's butt?
That was also, unfortunately, very real. Dave!
It's a good thing we know him.
Yep. Tough call, because, of course, realism is in part a function of the script. And in a script, characters are not supposed to be real. They are to carry out their function in telling the story. Interesting. Moreover, for me, the nature and fun of fiction is more in the distortion than the realism. I guess the two that jump out at me are Jake Gittes from Chinatown Okay. And Nicanora Charles. Really? They seem like the most... I want to hang out with the people you're hanging out with. Geez, in both cases, what I mean is that the actors filled the roles to make them feel believable. I know that nobody drinks as much as Nicanora. that is probably
Not Ed
true.
Lives.
Yeah, but I love the feel of those characters. Okay, this makes more sense. And I have certainly encountered wealthy people with addictive personalities that have the sort of charm they show. That's a good point. If you are talking about which characters are realistic in terms of the writing, I suppose Dr. Watson is solid and real. I don't know. I always thought he put up with Holmes way more than anyone else would.
It depends on the movies. Some movies, I think it's the other way around.
True. Miss Marple as well. She exercises the geezer craft that we all aspire to. I am going to use that word from now on. Geezer craft.
Roseanne Guizar.
Geezer craft. I love that. I love that.
It's right up there with magic chlorine.
Yep. And from the land of the frozen north, where detectives have a real problem because everyone's always wearing ski masks, Vince, the penguin master, the master of penguin geezer craft, says Marge Gunderson, Fargo, and another vote for Jake Gittes in Chinatown were always more like real people to me because even though they solved the case, they were still vulnerable and had lives outside the main story that made them more relatable to me. Many great detectives are great characters, but not always great representations of a real person, and can fall into oversimplified one-dimensional beings. Very interesting. Good point.
Oh, I forgot about Marge.
Oh, she's great. And yeah, very much a real person.
Marge.
And on our super secret fudgy chocolate-covered voicemail...
I got to find out a new one of those.
Yeah. We have Susie Beck, the hard-boiled detective who's an expert at cueing footsteps, if you know what I mean.
Wink, wink.
Nice one, Susie. Thank you for listening.
Susie, air quotes.
Yep. But what about you, Mike? Ooh, it was your question after all.
Was it?
Yep. What cinematic detective feels most like a real person to you when you poke them?
Well, I was going to go with Humphrey Bogart as Sam Spade from... No, wait. Yeah, Sam Spade from Maltese Falcon. No.
Isn't he Marlowe in
Marlowe.
that? Yeah, Marlowe and Archer and Marlowe.
Yeah, that's right.
No, Archer and Spade. You were
I was
the
right,
first
Sam
time.
Spade. So shut up, Max. It took me 306 episodes, but shut up.
Your mind is my plaything.
Ooh, that's weird.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm going
yeah.
to play hopscotch in it.
I like it because he's not right all the time. Like, he gets drugged, he gets kicked in the head. It's not... Everything just doesn't fall into place for him the way it does for a lot of other detectives and stuff. So I was going to go with him, but then we got reminded of Marge Gunderson, Marge. I always liked you, Marge. And I love her so much in that film.
Yes, that's your buddy there in the chipper.
I know. She's just so good. But also, Clarice Starling.
Oh, yeah.
Because she is also very vulnerable, very strong.
She's a beginner. She doesn't have her confidence, yeah.
But she's also very smart. And, of course, they don't overplay it in that film, but there's definitely the whole, well, you're a woman crap that, she has to deal with. So I'll take any of those three.
Okay.
How about you, though? This is my question, so how do you answer it?
I actually also go with Philip Marlowe, but I go with Elliot Gould's version of him from The Long Goodbye. He seems like such a real schlubby person.
Well, except he happens to live next door to a bunch of Playboy bunnies.
Yeah, well, that's his situation. It's like, Travis McGee living on a boat.
Who?
It's John D. McDonald's character, Travis McGee. You never run into him?
No.
Ooh, very famous mystery series.
Ah.
I don't know if they've done... I think they've done some movies, but they were never very successful for whatever reason.
No, I don't know that.
I like him just because the way he deals with the police and the way everyone just sort of looks at him like, you're a detective? Really? I like that.
Well, and I love Columbo, but as far as a real person...
Yeah. No. He picks up things way too quickly.
I don't have any problem with that, because if you ever watch one of the Miss Marples, the funniest things about the Miss Marple mysteries is that she solves it only after like 3 or 4 people die. It's like, I knew it all the time because, of course, blah, blah, blah. It's like, couldn't you have saved somebody?
Doesn't it happen with Poirot, too?
Not always, but sometimes, yeah. And, the things that they figure out are just kind of above, all the rest of us. So I like the detectives that obviously get the crap kicked out of them and don't get it always right and have to actually work for their $5 a day plus expenses. So. But, yeah.
Cool. Well, great answers, but we want more. We have a new question.
We do.
Somewhat inspired by this week's movie. What is scarier in the movies? Giant monsters that destroy cities, or the small, evil little monsters that can hide under the bed or in your chest cavity? Yeah. And we will be back to tell you how to answer that question for both of you who don't know at the end of the show.
I'm going to go with Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS.
Oh, I don't know about scary. I didn't say scary and hot. I said scary.
She wasn't hot.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry.
You're the one who's seen the movie.
Yeah.
But speaking of movies, let's talk about things about this one. Budget. A staggering between 25 and 30 million.
Huh.
Yeah.
That actually surprises me.
Box office, 172 million.
Well, that explains a lot.
That does explain. Yes, this was produced but not directed by J.J. Hold My Beer While I Take on Star Wars Abrams.
I thought it was Hold My Camera.
That too. And directed by Matt Reeves.
Ah.
Who, as you think, who? Best known, I am afraid, as producer of The Batman, the one with Robert Pattinson, Patter, whatever, Pitter, Patter, Petrie, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a deeper.
Yeah.
And also he did some of the modern iterations of the Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Get your damn hands off me, you damn dirty ape. Yeah.
Dr. Zayas. The title, Cloverfield,
thank you,
was originally just a code name for the movie, a la Blue Harvest.
Oh.
It is named after Cloverfield Boulevard in Santa Monica, California, where the Bad Robot production offices were located while making the film.
Really?
That's it.
Oh.
Now, there is another thing.
Oh.
Clovers. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. And pink hearts, yellow moons.
No.
Oh.
Clovers are the first plant to recover and grow back at the site of a nuclear blast.
Really?
Yes. That people have speculated that may have something to do with it.
Why? There's no nuclear blast in this film.
That it's suggested that
there's going to be
Hammer Time or whatever it is going to be
These pants.
Over. The running time of the film without the credits is about 80 minutes, which, interestingly, is the length of a long-running mini DV tape.
Okay.
A common format used in the kind of camcorder that films this entire movie.
Yeah, all right.
Lizzie Kaplan, who plays the unfortunate Marlena, and who we have seen before in Mean Girls.
You saw.
Yeah. No, we watched that.
Did we?
See our entire episode on Mean Girls.
Oh.
Thought this was a romantic movie until her second audition, where she read a scene. After she was offered the role, she found that it was a monster movie, and the actors weren't allowed to read the script until they signed on. There's a lot of secrecy about this. JJ did not want any of this getting out.
Weird.
Yeah. The head of the Statue of Liberty is shown about 50% larger than actual size.
Really? I thought it looked smaller.
That's why they had to increase it. The audiences, when they used the actual size one, said, there's no way it's that small.
Oh.
CG supervisor David Vickery said in an interview that many people imagined the head being much bigger than it actually is, and the size was increased due to complaints that it looked too small in the trailer.
Huh.
During the first weekend of the release, many theaters posted signs warning guests that the handheld camera movements may cause motion sickness.
May?
Our theater did not.
Surprise!
About 104 recorded people left the theater due to dizziness and motion sickness, and I would like to say that should be 105. Ugh. The man that our heroes encounter in the alley is speaking Ukrainian.
Ah.
He is asking for help to find his daughter and his family, as he can't live without them.
Aww.
And soon doesn't.
Aww. Ooh.
Most people took issue with how one of the main characters, Rob, could use his cell phone in the subway station.
Why?
This, however, was a set because back in 2008, most people couldn't.
Oh, I thought they had repeaters down there.
It was a savvy case of truth in television, since the MTA was actively wiring subway platforms for cell service right around that time, specifically so that could happen.
Oh, in case of giant monster attack,
In
of course.
fact, after much of Manhattan gets smashed into oblivion, the subway station might be the only place you could get cell phone service.
Wow. Remember that, New York City listeners.
A little J.J. Abrams nod, the Dharma Initiative logo, which Lost fans know, a fictional research project, can be seen very briefly at the start of the movie.
Did you see it on your own, or did you just find it in trivia?
I saw it the second time. I didn't notice it. Well, of course, the first time I didn't know what it was.
Well, also the first time.
Yeah. That didn't happen until, I think, about 30, 40 minutes in.
You were rolling on the floor at the credits.
And the credits were all right. A couple of the early scenes were all right. It's when they started running in the streets. Oh, boy. The Cloverfield monster itself is on screen for 2 minutes and 37 seconds.
That much?
Yeah. Images from the 1933 King Kong, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and them are hidden within the film.
Or them?
Them over there. Each image is seen extremely briefly, like for one frame during a camera edit.
Please.
Yeah.
At least one of them took place in New York.
It is revealed in the Cloverfield Blu-ray notations that Travis, Beth's date, left Manhattan Island via car before the events of the movie began. He left via the Lincoln Tunnel and went to his home in Weehawken. He was at home throughout the duration of the attack. So everyone relax. Travis is okay.
I was so worried.
I could not get that out of my head. I was so glad to find this out.
Weehawken, of course, which is next to Greater Hawken.
Yes, that's right. One of the original ideas for the title of the movie and one of the code names they used was Gray Shot. Which is both a reference to the handheld style of filming, apparently, and it was the name of the bridge in Central Park where Rob and Beth take refuge.
You need to get out of the Dick Van Dyke Show. Never. Nobody listening.
Never.
No.
Jason wears a Slusho t-shirt throughout the movie.
Sure.
Slusho is a drink from J.J. Abrams' show Alias, as well as one of the film's code names.
Okay.
The shirt is the only time the beverage is acknowledged.
All right, wait. Would you have gone to see this if it had been called Slusho?
Maybe.
Sounds like the 8th Marx Brother.
I thought it'd be like the sequel to The Stuff.
Okay. Oh,
the only score composition for this film is an instrumental piece by Michael Giacchino, or Giacchino, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, played over the end credits, titled Roar, Cloverfield Overture. The composition, and if you listen to it, and I didn't think of this until I read this, it's intended to evoke the score of classic monster movies, specifically the Godzilla theme. It's very much like that. It was not on the CD, on the soundtrack, because that is just a package of, it's a mixed CD of music from Rob's surprise party.
New Year's Rockin' Eve.
Yeah. Whenever a cameraman, crew member, or T.J. Miller as the cameraman, he's the one who's carrying he's HUD. This was his film debut, by the way.
Yeah.
He had an accident on set. They tried to incorporate it into the finished film to add to the realism. The shot where the crowd of people are running from the Brooklyn Bridge and HUD falls, that's actually cinematographer Mike Bonvillain. Great name.
Bond villain?
Bond, B-O-N, villain, or possibly Bonvillain.
Does he have a white cat?
He does, and he's going to leave all of you in an easily escapable death trap and go home.
What?
Unintentionally falling while shooting. Some of the camera operators who had... this suddenly trails off. I'll just leave that. I just cut out some of the camera.
Yeah, sure.
While shooting on the streets of Los Angeles.
What?
Yeah, some of this was shot in New York, some of it was shot in Los Angeles.
But
Yeah. The production designer, Martin Wist, got sponsoring from Sephora to dress one of the abandoned stores to make it look like a Sephora. People in the area were really excited that they'd be getting a Sephora on their street. And no one had the heart to tell him it wouldn't be there the next day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Sephora on my cereal.
I questioned whether to leave this in, but during Marlena's death, spoiler, at most people will catch a squelching sound and her blood being sprayed, but if you slow it down, which I did not,
Me neither.
you see the shadow of her body not only visibly swell, but after it bursts, you can see that's all that's left of her midsection afterwards is probably her spine.
Neat.
Yay!
Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby. Hello, my ragtime gal.
One defense of the absence of children and elderly in the film, and I noticed that this time, there are no old people on the streets, there's no children.
They'd all get eaten.
They're less likely to be out after midnight when the monster attacks.
Sure.
The filmmakers would have also had a bunch of practical concerns. Child labor laws prevent filmmakers from using kids at night. Children are more likely to disclose guarded information about the movie to the public.
It's true.
And underage models require an additional signature on the release form, which creates delays and coordination problem. Also, the American public is very sensitive about the depiction of children being harmed. I can tell you several other countries are not, as I learned during a certain film series. Children and the elderly are not entirely banished from the film. One old man can be seen when the Statue of Liberty's head lands in the street and the crying of a baby in one stairwell scene early in the film.
Hey, that's enough for me.
Yeah. According to Matt Reeves, the film is the epitome of what Mike Bond villain calls JJ's ball of yarn theory, which is a way of creating big, elaborate films on a minuscule budget by using sleight of hand techniques or distracting the audience's attention away from ways they work around not having a large budget. Bond villain would always try to figure out ways they could do a scene or even have the whole film just by using a ball of yarn.
Bond villain.
Yes. I don't know if you watched all the way to the end.
I cheated. When the credits came up, I wanted to see if there was going to be an end credit scene. Yeah. And all I saw, fast forwarding, was credits, but then I got to the end, and then there's this voice that's saying...
Yeah. If you can hear it saying, "Help us."
Yeah.
And if you play it in reverse, it says, "It's still alive." That, by the way, is the director Matt Reeves' voice.
I thought it was... what is it? Cheer me up, dead men?
Or Paul's gone, miss him.
Oh, I'm dead, just like in a bloody car crash.
And I should point out, this is the first movie in, yes, the Cloververse.
Oh, God.
There are two others currently in existence. 10 Cloverfield Way from 2016.
Lane?
Way.
Really?
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Way. And the Cloverfield Paradox from 2018. Huh. There is allegedly a fourth untitled Cloverfield movie on the way that may be a true sequel to the first one.
I actually heard what it's going to be called.
What's that?
Ball of Yarn.
Ah, yes. Ball of Yarn Field.
It's so frightening. We're calling it Ball of Yarn.
How did Mr. Stidgen get in here?
Nobody knows who he is.
Yeah. Check out Q Footsteps to find out who he is. And there's a ton of other stuff, mostly about the ancillary material. They put out websites and weird internet marketing campaigns trying to hint at what this movie was.
Huh.
I'm not going to go into them.
No. Well, you know what? I envy you because this week's plot wrap-up, I'm going to guess, 3 sentences?
Maybe not.
What is there to tell?
Plot.
Come on.
Big shot Rob Hawkins, fancy man with a fancy New York apartment that Jeff Bezos couldn't afford now.
There is that.
Has gotten a big promotion to King of Japan or something for some company we know nothing about, and his chums are throwing a surprise party for him. Yay! But they invited Beth, a woman he's been in love with and has apparently treated badly recently, so it's awkward and she leaves. Boo. Boo. The whole movie is being documented by Rob's best friend, Hud, who is in effect filming the entire movie on a handheld camera. Yay! But Hud is a douchebag with no sense of boundaries. Boo. Just as this is starting to look like a relationship drama movie, boom! New York is struck by an earthquake. Or is it?
Isn't.
No, of course it isn't. Don't be silly. It's just your average gigantic monster decapitating the Statue of Liberty. What? Or as cinematic New Yorkers call it, Wednesday. Ah! There is panic in the streets. Oh! A giant kaiju is attacking the city. Ah! Perhaps the turtle Gamera will save everyone. No such luck. The humans are on their own as the enormous, seldom-seen monster begins unleashing mass destruction. Woohoo! Mass destruction! And shaking off its body lice, which are actually hideous, murderous, alien bug things. Our good-looking friends from all walks of life try to get off the island, but the monster trashes the Brooklyn Bridge, as well as Rob's brother, Jason.
Oh. Boo, I guess.
And suddenly, Beth calls Rob. She is trapped in her apartment in in Columbus Circle.
Stop it!
Oh! Rob and his friends, Hud, Liz, and Marlena, rush to try to save Beth. Marlena is lost to a really nasty bug bite, but eventually, somehow, they rescue Beth, make it to the evac point, and flee, only to get Godzilla'd out of the air at the last minute.
Boo.
Liz is dead, Hud gets munched, and Rob and Beth can only huddle under a bridge, trying to get people to guess their riddle. Declaring their love for one another before the army flattens Manhattan, and they all end up dead. The end. Or is it?
Well, apparently it isn't, because you told us there's two more movies. However, I'm betting that neither Rob nor Beth appear in them.
You would be correct, except Rob does appear in the fan-made film The Cloverfield Files.
That does not count.
Which is a 15-minute Brazilian film.
Brazil? What has Brazil got to do with it?
I don't know. They liked it in Brazil.
No.
Yeah, I should point out the other two movies have no direct connection with this movie. They just all deal with the idea of our world being under threat from creatures from other dimensions.
Dimensions?
Yeah.
So this isn't from space?
No, it's more from sort of like inner space or next space or the multiverse.
You're basically saying it's a monster from over there.
Yeah, over Clover there. I don't know.
Ooh, you're fired. So we know the answer to the question, Max. Did you see this when it came out? Yes, I saw it with you. Well, I'm sorry. I saw this film when it came out. Max was enjoying the lobby.
I saw some of this film when it came out. I did come back in and sat farther back and tried to watch the movies by looking at it sideways.
It was really sad. I felt so horrible. It's like, should we go? And you're like, no, just watch it. I'll be fine. Leave me alone.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Max did see it. He technically didn't know if he liked it. He just didn't like the effects of it the first time around. But you know what we do like to do is we like to talk about the cast, which is so important in this.
Oh, very important. This is an actor's movie.
In that there are actors in it.
Yeah.
This is going to be really easy.
Yeah.
Does anyone stand out to you?
No. I mean, Beth's kind of nice, but
I guess
Odette, Annabelle.
Well, I'm gonna put it this way: most of the women in this film seem fairly reasonable, a little bit excitable at times, and all of the guys are total douchebags.
They really are. Every guy in this movie you just want to slap. I'm sorry.
They range from like Hud at the bottom up through Jason and Rob, and they're all terrible.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, okay. Let's just name them to be nice. Lizzie Kaplan is Marlena, Jessica Lucas is Lily.
Mike Vogel is Jason.
T.J. Miller in his first film as Hud. Michael Stahl-David is Rob. And Odette Annabelle as Beth. And
of course, you cannot forget Kelvin Yu as Clark.
Right.
And of course, Ben Feldman as Travis.
Actually,
we're with you, Trav.
My favorite was Elena Bick as party goer.
Oh yeah, she carried that whole scene.
Yeah, so if you have not seen this film, as has been said, which caused Max much anxiety and chucking of the up, it is a handheld, quote unquote, found footage film.
A la the Blair Witch Project.
Right, which we have not done for the show, but I saw, and boy, that was the quietest audience I've ever seen a film with. No one said anything.
I know it became very popular to hate on that movie and say, oh, it's so stupid. That movie scared the living crap out of me.
Me too. And nothing happens on screen. Nothing. But it's so
all anticipation.
Creepy. And I gotta say, I think there were some very important lessons to learn from that film. Yeah. One of them not being to do the exact same thing in multiple other horror films.
Yes.
But the idea that a lot of times the really big scares don't happen right in your face on camera.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, ball of yarn it can be because we can't afford to do this. Yeah. But that's the thing, when you told me the budget, I was actually surprised. Considering the locations and the number of extras, this film looks a lot more expensive than it is.
A lot of this was, as they say, guerrilla filmmaking. Like, J.J. did not get permission to do a lot of the filming in parts of New York.
He Ed Wooded this?
He Ed Wooded and Roger Corman a big chunk of this.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
If we're still learning lessons from the masters, masters is in small letters, by the way. Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, there are some CG effects here and there, and I think they're generally very well done.
What did you think of the monster?
The monster I had trouble with because you can't... I'm guessing that it doesn't have necessarily a solid, continuous shape. It gave me the impression that it changes, and so I couldn't really get a good grip on it, except that it was so horrible. Being anywhere near it meant you were likely to die.
Yeah.
How about you?
I like the fact that you almost never see it. I think that's way scarier.
It is.
I like that it seems like this absolutely unstoppable force. That one of the most disturbing lines in there is when one of the soldiers says, when they're begging, what is that thing? He says, whatever it is, it's winning.
Yeah.
It's like, yikes.
Well, and the fun part is there's scenes where we're in, I guess, a helicopter. We're looking at news footage.
Yeah.
And it's huge, and we still can't find it because of the way New York City is put together. It's in the little, the maze of
And it's fairly quick for its size. It moves around a lot.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of the ideas they're trying to get across is that this thing is an infant. It's a child.
Oh, dear God.
And it's suffering from separation anxiety.
Oh.
Which makes you wonder, where do mom and dad look like?
Well, also, we're not supposed to feel for this monster,
No.
are we? I mean, it suffers from the heartbreak of psoriasis, unfortunately.
Yeah, and some really nasty body parasites, because you notice there they kind of go, all right, we're going to get you with both the giant monster and the ones that can sneak up on you.
Yeah, and, kill some of your cast. So, I thought when this film started, and this happens every once in a while, I have a streaming service that allows me to watch this. I started the movie, and I thought there was something wrong with my TV.
Yeah, because the screen stays black for like 30 seconds.
And I'm like, because this does happen where occasionally things don't work or whatever, and I thought there was something wrong. I will say this, if you were watching this film at home, turn on the subtitles.
Yeah, I did too. It's because they're going for that sort of Robert Altman realistic sounding dialogue. It means you can't hear it half the time.
Well, and here's the thing. The disparity between the softly spoken dialogue and the giant explosions in the monster are such that you're going to have to sit there turning the volume up and down, up and down, and up and down.
Yeah.
Now, real quick, speaking to that, did you have the same nodular issues this time around?
I did not.
Okay.
Actually, not at all. Part of this, of course, is I was ready for it so I could look away from the screen. But also, when we saw it, we were sitting in the third row in a full-size theater. Whereas if I'm watching it on TV, I'm farther away and I can let myself focus on the edges of the screen.
Technically, if you're watching at home, you're watching it closer than you would be at home.
Yeah, but I can see the edges of the screen easier.
Now,
and that helps your brain realize, oh, I'm not actually moving.
Now, this is, in a way, sort of a cruel question, but do you think this is one of those films that just has a greater impact in the theater?
Well, it certainly did on me. It had a very profound impact. I'd like to point out, I did not actually blow chunks. I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But honestly, yeah. Like most giant monster movies, it's way more effective when it's filling your whole world. It's much more frightening then.
There's some interesting text on the... Because this is obviously something... This is a tape that has supposedly been found. I'm going to question that. Found by the military in some manner.
Yeah.
My guess is, and I don't know this because there's no way to tell, is that their eventual solution of we have to nuke it from orbit, it's the only way to be sure, was successful. Because they were able to get this film and classify it because they didn't want other people to know. If it wasn't successful, there'd be no point in doing that. So that's my guess. That being said, we're guessing this is videotape. Maybe it's some other digital...
It's probably what they call digital videotape, that halfway that they had in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, before everything went all digital.
Now, I'm not a physicist, and I don't play one on TV, but my guess is if you dropped a nuclear bomb on Manhattan...
It would wipe every videotape, digital or otherwise, in a 5-mile radius. The I gotta say, that camera is the most durable piece of personal electronics I have ever imagined. That thing goes through everything, and it keeps working perfectly. I want one of those.
Well, you know what else I like about it is the incredibly long battery life, whether you're using the light or the night mode on it, because that was a thing.
Night mode was a thing on very high-end cameras.
Yeah. Well, you know, Rob's going to work for giant Japanese companies.
Yes, that's right.
I did like, there's a little bit of foreshadowing in the film. It starts off saying, this took place in the area formerly known as Central Park.
That's kind of a uh-oh moment.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There are a couple of subtle things at the end when we're seeing the final clip of... Because this whole thing, and by the way, this is not how digital videotape works. They're recording, it turns out by accident, recording over a day that Rob and Beth spent together. It's going to be a problem. Rob and Beth spent together, and somehow that footage keeps, I don't know, leaking in.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if you did much with recording on videotape. Whenever I did this, if I recorded over, sure enough, because it takes a minute for the tape to get up to speed. So there's the chance chunks of the old tape that show up are, shall we say, incredibly fortuitous. Because they're being used to underline what was the relationship, the budding relationship between Rob and Beth. So, whatever.
There's also at the end when they're on Coney Island. And
they are?
Yeah, they are.
I thought they were in Central Park.
No, in the real time of the movie, but the end of the film, we see a bit of a clip from the original tape.
Oh.
And they're on a like a Ferris wheel or something.
Yeah.
In the background, and I only know this because I knew to look for it, they're showing a shot over the ocean. You see something falling from the sky into the ocean.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, suggesting maybe this is from space or from something.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the title early on and why it was called that and stuff. I actually had an alternate title. Let's see if you think this would have worked better.
Okay.
Shallow Young Rich People, the motion picture.
That's actually pretty damn accurate, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's nice. There's a black person in the background at the party.
Oh, yeah, there was one.
Yeah.
Well, wait,
and there's an Asian person.
Liz is, if not black, she is partly.
Yeah.
And I'm out. I did not realize that that part of New York was so white.
Apparently. Well, look at these warehouse-sized apartments these people have.
I was like, what do these people do for a living?
Well, you know what Beth does. Oh, I'm wealthy.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's her parents' apartment, apparently.
Yeah.
But, like, Rob really must work for Conhuge or Evil Con or something.
Yeah.
Because he's got this enormous apartment, and it's right in the middle of, I think, it's not Brooklyn.
No, because
it's in Manhattan.
Everything's in Manhattan because they try to take the Brooklyn Bridge out and then they wreck that.
And I know 2008 was a while ago, but that was still, it was not cheap.
No. I will say, of the Shallow Young Rich People, this I thought was a really good choice on the director's part, whether it was his or it was J.J. Abrams' part. They picked, at that point, actors no one had heard of.
Yeah,
and I think that was a really wise choice. Because if you had any big names in this, it would have been really distracting.
Yeah. It would have also taken away from the whole sort of realistic, found footage, junky quality nature of it.
And I will say, too, I think everybody felt very natural. They all felt, quite honestly, like overly wealthy, self-absorbed late 20-somethings in New York.
I don't know. I thought HUD was a little too glib every so often.
Glib?
Yeah.
He could barely rub two words together.
Yeah, but toward the end he gets a little more into that whole, I'm documenting over and over again.
It's only because somebody else told him that phrase. So, yeah.
Other than that, their way of speaking is pretty natural and pretty believable.
Yeah. And
their reactions are, I mean, I have to say, Marlena's is the most realistic. She's basically in shock most of it.
Right.
And the others are sort of like, oh, what? HUD I just think is too stupid to really get affected.
Well, I had a quote for him. I am HUD and you are HUD and they are HUD and we are HUD together. Because he's supposed to be, I guess, the closest thing to us, which, if that's a comment by either Abrams or Reeves on the audience...
He does not think well of the audience, no.
I will say that after growing up with watching giant monster movies, Godzilla, Gamera, whomever... This is honestly the most realistic approach of what would likely happen, which is mostly 80 minutes of
a lot of screaming, a lot of people freaking out, surprisingly little looting.
There was a little, but I think people soon realized we can't carry this.
Yeah, where are we gonna take our loot?
Yeah, as I said too, I think that the effects are very effective.
Yeah.
They're kept minimal. I will say that the film is very dark. It takes place at night, which is fine.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to do that. And I do think, though, that I thought this was going to be closer to $100 million because it was obvious that there were places like if it's not the Brooklyn Bridge, whatever part of it you built sure looks like the Brooklyn Bridge, of course, and then they destroy it. But yeah.
No, the biggest set that they built was where they finally get to Beth's apartment and the two buildings are bumped together.
Oh, okay.
The rooftop.
Okay.
Which was... Again, I thought that looks really cool. I don't believe it, but first off, how are the lights still on in either of those buildings?
Stuff.
By the way,
reasons.
I big kudos to New York's power grid because man, that thing can take some punishment.
Well, and also kudos to the Army because if this is quote unquote real time, they got to Manhattan in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, and set up an entire command base.
Yeah.
I mean, there are military bases around New York.
So. I didn't know there was one in Central Park.
Not in the city, no.
Well, not one that you knew of.
True. It could be, yes, very few people realize this, but when Central Park Lake drains, there's a whole base under there.
Thunderbirds are slow.
Yep.
Yeah. When then we lose Travis, except that we find out now, thanks to your trivia, that he's...
Thank God. Travis!
There is, when we do finally get some... views of the monster. There's one specifically really good shot where it's coming sort of after our heroes, and it's right as they're going into the subway. There's this great shot of the monster. They sort of look up, and it really is... I'm glad that we only generally see our characters from the waist up, because I think at that point everybody was wearing the brown pants, if you know what I mean. So, but, yeah.
They really give a good sense of the fear that they're feeling, the terror, and the way different people are reacting. Some of them are getting angry, some of them are shutting down, some of them are just sort of in denial. And, the way they keep asking, what is that thing, what's happening, knowing nobody else knows, but they can't stop themselves.
Well, and here's something that I thought was oddly potential, because I don't know what the reaction was in that area, but kind of potentially tone deaf about this. 9/11 was only 7 years before this.
Yeah, I know. No, they addressed that. Some of them asked J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves about it, and they said, yeah, that certainly informs it, and it's again about how people deal with a terrifying, destructive, traumatic event in your home.
Don't you think it might have been kinder if they did it in St. Louis?
Yeah, probably.
Then they could have the monster trip on that big arch thing. I would like to say thank you, Mountain Dew, which is this movie's Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, somehow I'm thirsty for Mountain Dew all the time in this movie.
That was awful.
Yeah, that was really obvious.
It was like literally one frame off of Godzilla 85 where it's lit right in the middle of the screen. So,
I also have to give real props to the actors and their incredible cardiovascular system. Because never mind that they spent, HUD actually says at one point, I can't take all this running, man. Well, they not only do they run through the city, they go up, 39, 40 flights
I think it's 47.
47 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
And they're just sort of like, ooh, I'm a little tired.
Well, to be fair, they're 20-somethings and they have a lot
47 flights, man!
I know.
Remember Ghostbusters? They're up on the 19th floor. They're like,
Well, they were a good deal older than
yeah.
But we do have one thing that I thought two things I thought were good. One of them is I think the movie, I know it's only 80 minutes, but I think it's actually well paced.
It moves along very quickly.
Anybody has proven that 80 minutes can be poorly paced, it's Roger Corman.
Yeah.
I need more walking. But we also have a goal, and it's not a huge goal. It's not to kill the monster. It's just to go get Beth, as unrealistic as it is. Thing is that I get it. Rob's a dink.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I should have realized that I actually loved her, and I could do that because I'm actually going to vote no. But
No.
Yeah. But it's nice that we
know
have...
what she saw in him.
As big as this... It's actually a really nice juxtaposition. As big as the problem is, the monster, Manhattan being eaten, our concern as the audience and the characters is just to get this one person.
It's very
and we
grounded.
understand it.
It's very it's focused on something very accessible and very understandable. It's people's concern for each other, which is kind of hinted at, by the way. Jason says this in the first, I think, 10 minutes. Jason, the brother who dies, says, forget the world and hang on to the people that matter to you the most.
Yeah.
That's the whole theme of the movie, I think.
Yeah, Max, could you not hang on to me right now?
But you mean the most to me, and I don't want you to be eaten by a giant monster until I can get a camera pointed at you.
Whoa, hey, stop shaking.
Whoa!
So near the end, they do something that I thought was going to be the end of a character. Lily has to get on the helicopter by herself.
Oh, Liz. Yeah.
Liz, I'm sorry. That's akin to having sex in a horror film.
Yes, you get on any vehicle by yourself, and sure enough, SWAT.
Apparently she's fine, because her helicopter doesn't get hit.
I thought they
it's Rob and Beth's helicopter that gets hit in HUD. But then, of course, when that goes down, when finally we lose HUD, I had to sing, and I'm sure you did as well. Old HUD is dead. Poor old HUD is dead. At first, I'm wondering, though, HUD goes down, so we've lost our camera, our documentarian.
Yeah.
Why does Rob save the camera?
I don't know why anyone saves a camera. I don't know why HUD keeps saving it, except because he's so self-involved. They all are so self-involved. I think that'd be the first thing he'd drop. But I also kind of get it. In a stressful situation, often people focus on one simple thing. They'll hold on to an object. They won't let go of it.
Oh, focus. I see what you did there. Oh.
Now, admittedly, I'm really surprised that HUD keeps holding the camera at eye level carefully and still framing all his shots.
Well, to be fair, though, he does do something that is very common when people say, HUD, turn the camera off. Oh, okay, I'll hold it down here now.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
Which is fair.
Yeah, but also HUD, the thing that gets me is when Rob's mother calls. When they're in the subway, this is actually kind of a touching moment. And Rob has to tell her that Jason's dead. And HUD keeps the camera on him the whole time.
Yeah.
HUD is a dink. I'm sorry. He is a huge dink.
I don't understand why Rob is friends with him.
Nope. I don't understand why anyone is. I completely understand why Marlena wants nothing to do with him.
Yes. And I can understand why Rob is attracted to Beth. Even me, I can understand that. So here's a big question. Do you think the handheld camera found footage thing works in this film?
Honestly, yeah. I think it does. I don't enjoy it. I've never enjoyed it. I mean, Blair Witch Project was a problem for me too, but I learned to glance away a lot. But I think it does. It's a little gimmicky because there's a certain amount of, oh, get it? See, this really happened. Yeah. But I think it works, and the way they do the footage, you can still see enough of what's going on. It's not too distracting, and it gives it a real sense of immediacy and a feeling like you're there. What about you?
I agree. I think it's actually was more jittery than I remembered it being. I remembered it being jittery, and I certainly remember you having to leave and me having to come out into the lobby going, "Are you okay?" And you going, "No." But it is a lot to take in, and you kind of wish at some point that somebody had handed HUD a tripod. Or for his going away, somebody at the beginning of the movie said, "Hey, Rob, I got you a gimbal. Here, enjoy it while you're in Japan."
Here, HUD, put on this Steadicam harness, would you?
I know, back then, of course, that's what you needed. Now, it's something you hold in your hand.
Yeah.
I think that it does add to the realism. I think that's in general how somebody would film if they were being chased by a giant monster. Yeah. And I also do understand why HUD keeps doing it, because let's face it, HUD's an idiot. Yeah. And this is, somebody gave him a job to do, even though it was really supposed to be Jason's job. And so it gives him some sort of identity or makes him feel important. Yeah. So, and I think at some point he is also partially thinking somebody needs to see what happened here, and probably almost nobody, which is, I think, wise, is stopping to go, hey, monster, can you give us a smile?
On the bridge, you see one other person filming.
And what happens to them?
He gets killed.
See? I will say the ending credits reminded me of another film, and this is very subjective. I don't expect anybody else to understand this. But it's because of this whole, we're wrapping this up, this was a government thing, this is classified, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the end credits for Andromeda Strain.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I don't remember the credits well enough.
Yeah, it's Andromeda Strain. It's a film I don't know why I like and have watched. I've watched that film probably 10 times. Nothing happens in this film. There is no action at all.
Yeah.
It is a bunch of scientists trying to deal with the fact that our first exposure to alien life is a disease.
Yeah, a virus or something.
Yeah. And I don't know. There's something I really like. It's a Michael Crichton book. Did he direct? No, it's Robert Wise who directed it. There's something I really find compelling about that film, and it also has a very real feeling to it. Like, there are probably scientists underground somewhere that are working on this crap.
I'm sure there are.
So, it just suddenly reminded me of that. But you know what else reminds me of things is that we have to get to the point where we talk about whether we actually think, after all this, does the film actually work? So, Max.
Huh?
So you kind of saw it the first time.
I saw some of it.
Now, did you see enough of it to form an opinion of the film? And at the time, what did you think, besides being nauseous?
Honestly, at the time, I thought it was really impressive. Because it was... I'd never seen anything like it. It's not even like the Blair Witch Project. I thought it was, unique. I thought it was really good.
Well, thankfully in Blair Witch, there's a lot more walking and standing than there is running and screaming.
Yes, and occasionally they actually set the camera down on a tripod or something.
Yeah.
What about you?
I really liked the film when I first saw it. I thought it was cool. I think it does play better in a theater. Interestingly, TVs have gotten way bigger since then. Because back then, I'm going to guess, 2008, we were still probably in the, I have a 30-inch TV.
Oh, those were 30-inch TVs. Those were huge. Only a few people had those.
My TV is almost 3 times.
Yeah.
So, because I need, it's for research. It's for
research.
the show. That's the only
education.
Reason. Yes, edumacation. Now, you've been able to watch this film.
Yeah.
And you've been able to not feel nauseous.
Yes.
Now that you've seen it, and it's been, 15 years?
Yeah.
16 years. What do you think?
I still think it's good. I don't think it's as good as I thought it was. I do think some of it is gimmicky. I think some of it is really annoying.
Like
we don't know anything. Now, I know that's a choice. That's the idea. You're in the same boat as the characters.
We are HUD.
We are as.
Heads up display.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think his full name was Hudson.
Probably.
Hawk?
No. Probably River. I don't know.
Hey, we managed to get through an entire episode without the Flintstones or Robot Monster, so there has to be a Hudson Hawk reference.
Yeah. That's fair.
So you think it actually wasn't as good?
I still think it was good. I just now, so many people have used similar stuff, or it's aged a bit. I still think it's very well done. It's still really well paced. The characters are still believable. I'm still not sure about HUD, but I think it still works. I think it's a really well done movie. Just if you're prone to motion sickness, watch it. Or don't watch it.
Yeah.
What about you? How's it hold up?
I think it holds up really well.
Okay.
I think, again, it would do way better in a theater. Even though it's quote-unquote shot on handheld video, it isn't. I think that it's one of those things that's going to look better and feel more immersive the bigger it gets.
Yeah, true.
That being said, I think it's the most realistic giant monster movie ever made.
I think that's fair.
I think that the way people react to it, the fact that there aren't suddenly giant trucks with laser beams on them that come out of nowhere, that the monster isn't sidestepping small children because it's friends with them. I think, we don't know anything about it, but why would we?
No. And
it's entirely possible that after this entire thing, we still don't know anything. Maybe they destroy the monster and they can't figure out where it came from. So I think it's actually pretty cool. The nice thing about it, too, is that it's not overly long. No. It is 80 whatever minutes without the credits at the end.
Yep, 84 minutes total.
And that's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
I don't want... thankfully, we don't go into, like, the monster's mommy issues or something like that.
Yeah.
And we don't have to deal with anything more with the emotional issues of the characters. Because, quite honestly, they are all rich white people. And honestly, who cares?
I have to say, the final shots where we see the last day that Beth and Rob spent together are actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
I like the fact that her last line is, "I had a good day."
Yeah. And then this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I liked it the first time, and I still like it. I think it holds up pretty well. Mm-hmm. Yes, the handheld camera thing has been done to death, but that's not this film's fault.
Absolutely not.
So I would say, yeah, if you like giant monster movies and you somehow have avoided Cloverfield, if you have issues with fastly moving, jittering, jumping cameras,
you will have trouble with this.
Yeah. Otherwise, though, I think that this is probably how I would react to them, and it's...
Yep.
Not all good.
No.
Because why should it be? But you know what is all good?
Yes.
Our poll question.
I already said yes. Yes, it is. It's a great poll question.
I was telling them. The giant ants.
Make me a sergeant and charge the booze. There's a deeper.
Why do we quote these things?
I don't know. No, we wanted to know, what is scarier to you in the movies? Giant monsters that destroy cities, or small monsters that can hide under the bed or in your chest cavity? And you can answer this question by emailing us at maxmikemovies.com. You can go to our website, maxmikemovies.com, and leave a comment. You can find us on Foxbook and
Facebook.
Whatever, under Max
Oh, my
Mike
dear
Movies.
God. Weren't you an English major?
Oh, yeah. And
English minor, if you know what I mean.
And, of course, you can use our fantastical high-tech voice messaging system and call and leave us a message at 617-398-7266. That number again, 617-398-7266, and leave us a voicemail.
Call now and pledge and get the tote bag.
Yes, that's right.
That's a deeper.
But, well, we're a bit more than halfway through.
Oh, we're more than halfway through. I get one more choice.
Yep. And what is that choice? This final choice, this most important choice of a movie that may deserve our forgiveness.
Well, I found this choice impossible to make.
Okay.
Totally impossible. In fact,
a Sophie choice, perhaps?
No, but it was like you've given me this mission. And I found it...
We can all see where this is going, can't we?
Even the people in Cloverfield can see where... Yes,
even the monster can see where this is going.
Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning. Part 1. Because when I went to see this, I didn't know it was Part 1.
This is the most recent one?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, as some listeners, both of you may know, I'm not the world's biggest Tom Cruise fan. You might even say I generally find him annoying. So why would I go see a Mission Impossible film? I have to say, I've seen a few of them. I have not seen... There's like 8 of them or something.
50, 60. I've lost track.
Some of them are actually... The first one's actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
And they took what is quite honestly a really funny show from the late 60s.
Hello, I'm Peter Graves, and I'm a spy.
Well, you have to break into Kreplakistan and... Okay. So they
took... Paris, cinnamon.
Ariel, Ukla, ride. They took what was honestly kind of a cool Cold War era concept, and they went with it and made it a pretty exciting film. However... Then there was more and more of them, and Tom Cruise kept saving the world and kept
running. So much running.
So much running. And the only reason I went to this film is because we had a power outage. And I'm like, I need something to watch, something to take my mind off the fact that it's summer, I have no air conditioning, and I'm worried that my food's all going to go bad. So I'll go see this film. So I went and saw Mission Impossible, and I did not know that it was Part 1.
Yeah.
Just so you know, there has yet to be Part 2.
Hey.
And I think I read something recently that said it was delayed. So making this...
Like everything.
Yeah, because who needs a 2-part Bond film? I sure didn't. No. I don't know if you saw it indoor.
I did not.
Oh, well, then you don't get to...
Yeah.
Max won't be here next week because it has to be... I've seen it before, and he didn't, so...
Fine, you can go back to talking to yourself.
I'm the only one who listens.
Huh?
Anyway, you too can join us for the part one of our episode on Mission
you,
Impossible.
should you choose to accept it.
Oh, my iPad was on fire. Ah!